Hello everybody, it's Miss Gretchen with Rubies and Moonstones, and I am going to be doing a post review and step-by-step completion process video series with you on Lovebird Lodge by Richard Lorenz. I have so been looking forward to doing this one for such an incredibly long period of time, so I am so excited to get started. If you're new to my channel, I hope that you would like it here and consider subscribing for more diamond painting content. And if you are returning, welcome back. Thanks so much for continuing to support myself and my channel. I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you very, very much. All right, let's go ahead and get the canvas out. I know that there's no way I'm going to be able to show the entire thing on my table, so I'm just going to show you what I can here. I guess I'm going to have to roll it backwards first, just a minute. Oh my goodness, I just love these Richard Lorenz birds. So the way that I have things set up, we're going to have to start here at the bottom and then work our way to the top. But I love these keys that we have down here and the Lovebird Lodge. I am going to leave these words in this one. I don't always leave the wording in my Richard Lorenz pieces, but I'm going to leave them in this one. And I love these two lovebirds. I mean, they are so cute. I love how exhausted he looks with his eyes. And I love how beautiful she looks with all of her makeup and eyeglasses and their feet. They have like these, it looks like they have stockings on their feet, and they always have such fun headpieces. Oh, I love these birds. Okay, so then as we move up, we get into this part of the canvas, and so we have that beautiful crossing and how it turns into where there's like this balcony and there's a window here. We got a butterfly over here, and then moving up to the top. Sorry for the shaking of my camera. We have the upside down teacup and all of these beautiful flowers, as well as a little dragonfly right here. And this does have the original perforated plastic covering on it, so that will be really nice to work with. So I'm looking forward, oh, I'm so looking forward to this. It's such a nice short size going across, but then it is really tall, as you can see. So, which I haven't even given you the dimensions yet. Let me get him back down to the birds and then we'll go through those things and the colors. Okay, so this is 20 inches by 40 inches, or 50.8 by 101.8 centimeters. And there are 71 colors, including 5 ABs and 3 fairy dust. And you can get a DP with Sparklers Enhancement Kit. So that's what this is, and I made a copy of all of their suggestions, and let me show you all of the colors then too. Okay, so first let's take a look at all of the originally charted by Diamond Art Club enhancements. So we have 5 ABs, starting with number 110, which is this very bright red AB, and we have a good amount of that, which is going to be fun. Then we have number 114, which is another bright red color. Number 120, a blue AB. 131, a very orange colored AB. And of course, number 141, which is our very, very white AB. I mean, it actually is white. So then we have 3 fairy dust. So we have Z772, and this is like a very, very light green fairy dust color. Z783, which is kind of like a brown fairy dust. And finally Z973, which is a very bright yellow, like a lemonade yellow, very bright. Okay, so that's what's originally charted, but like I said, I got a DP with Sparklers Enhancement Kit. Now, I've done their kits before, and I haven't always been a fan of their pearls for squares or sparklers for squares because they are round, and this is a square jeweled canvas. They're made to fit the square, but they're round. So the first time I used one of the DP with Sparklers kits that had those, I wasn't a huge fan of that look. However, I did just complete another diamond painting where I did include them, and I did really like them on that one. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to try them out more. But therefore, when I bought my enhancement set, I purposefully went and bought all of the pieces that go with this, and I just didn't buy the sparklers for squares and things like that. And I tried to find replacements. So one suggestion that they had is for DMC 414 and 645 is to replace those colors with these slivers. So if you can see, they are these really long pieces, and they take up the spots of 4 squares, I believe. Okay, so here is just one on my hand. And so, yeah, it's going to be 4 squares tall. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this looks like on the canvas. It's supposed to go in that window part. So I am excited to try that. And then also in the window, it suggested a sparkler for square, but I didn't get that. However, I went and looked and found a crystal that I like that kind of goes with this color. So I am going to see about putting this crystal in where it has suggested to swap this color out. But then it also suggests using that same metallic blue color for number 158, which seems more purple-like to me. So I'm not sure about using the crystal on that one. This is in the Dragonfly. So I'm just gonna have to make that decision as I go. Then in the Butterfly, it suggests swapping out for number 666 these quad cubes, which are scarlet quad cubes. So I really do like quad cubes. So I'm excited to try that. And then the rest of them are across the entire canvas. And I didn't really show you on the first one, but when I was kitting this up, I made a copy of the sticker sheet so that whenever I had a replacement to go with it, I could just use the same symbol. So this way, when I'm looking for the star, I'll find 2 stars and know that I need to replace it. I'm hoping that that works anyway. So, so it suggests across the entire canvas for number 580 to replace it with square AB 469, and that's what this one is. So it's a very dark green. Seems like a very, very natural green color, but it's an AB. So, and then number 31, this is one where it was a pearl for square. So instead of replacing number 741 with the pearl for square, I found a pixie dust 740 that seems to match really well. So I'm going to replace this pixie dust instead with this natural 741 color. I have found that pixie dust 740 matches 741 a lot better than their pixie dust 741 matches it. So I'm also haven't been a fan of their glitter drills. So I tried to find different replacements for that as well. So their suggestion is to use the square glitter 814 to replace this one, number 815. This is just to tell me that I do have this fairy dust in that color, but I think I am going to replace it with the crystal 815 that I have. And so that is what this one looks like. I know this is a lot to go through, but I just thought I'd show you what those are. And then the next one was a pearls for squares suggestion. So again, I didn't do that, but I'm going to replace number 915 with Pixie Dust 915. So that is what Pixie Dust 915 looks like. And it actually seems to match pretty well. So I think that I'm going to do that. Of course, you can always change my mind as I go along. This one I loved. Okay, so they suggested replacing number 956 with a crystal jelly 956. Check this out. Isn't that cool? I mean, I don't know if you can see it as well as I can, of course, but I think that this crystal jelly is super cool. So I'm definitely going to try that. Okay, the next one was another pearl for square that I replaced. So it's for number 995. So instead of doing that, I had a 995 Diamond Drills USA AB. So I put that with it. And then I can decide if I want to use it in that spot or not. But I at least have options for where all of their suggestions are. And then this one, I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. So it's for number 3837, this very purple color. And I have two options. So I have a Pixie Dust 3837 that I could use, but this seems just a little bit of a lighter shade of purple. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use that there or not. But then I have this crystal 3837 that seems a bit darker. So depending on where this shows up at, I might use this instead or one or the other. So we'll see. I have both options. And then their final suggestion is for number 3845. Again, theirs was a pearl for square option, so I didn't get that. And instead I have a Pixie Dust 995 that seems to match it best out of what I have. So I may use this there instead. So those are all of the replacements that I have come up with thus far. It looks like when I originally made these, because I kitted this up a long time ago, if I have a fairy dust that matches or is very close to the color, I put a label on the bottom. I have gotten a few more fairy dust in since then, so we shall see. But yeah, so that's all of the replacements that I have. And that's what I like so much though about the enhancement kits from DP with Sparklers. I mean, they're suggestions and you can use them all or you can use some of them. It's your diamond painting and you can change it up as much as you want to. So I'm going to have this hanging next to my workstation. On the other side, it has the original copies of the sticker sheet so that if I am having trouble finding a color, I can scan this and then I can check and see, is this for a color for the entire canvas? Is it just for the dragonfly, the butterfly, or the window? At first I wasn't able to get the slivers, so I didn't think I was going to do the window, but then I placed another order and they had them in stock, so I was able to get them, so I will be doing them. So yeah, okay. I know that's kind of a longer intro than usual. I'm not going to show you where everything goes. I will just check in with you periodically and let you know how things have been going and where I have placed diamonds, special drills, the DP with Sparklers Enhancement Kit suggestions, and all of that as I go along. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because I cannot wait, and I will check in with you later once I've made some progress. All right, see you in a little bit. All right, so I just wanted to do a quick check-in. As you can see, I've got all of the flowers done in the teacup. And of course, I love it already, even though I haven't even gotten to the birds. But this was such a fun part to do. And what I did is I filled in all of the border areas first, and then I came back in and filled in the flowers, and then did the teapot. And it was a lot of fun. But I talked to you about all of the enhancements I was going to do. So let me show you what's in here. So this is charted white ABs, and then this is the charted gray fairy dust. There are some white ABs and charted fairy dust over here as well, and some charted pink, that number 110 color throughout all of the flowers. And then the extra drills that I added are in this dragonfly up here. So I added on my own let me get my pointer. I added some ABs into this part of the dragonfly, and then they had suggested a sparkler for square metallic blue for the wings, but as I said, I just wasn't a fan of those previously, so I tried to come up with my own. So I put in a crystal blue color for this area instead. There are some more of those ABs that I put in here, as well as some green ABs in this spot here. I also have black fairy dust from some of those mini dazzle kits, so I put that in all of the black spots. And I plan to do that in the butterfly as well, but I haven't gotten quite that far yet. These spots are also somewhere, it had suggested a glitter drill, and their glitter drills just have a very obvious gold glitter on top of them, and so I previously wasn't really a fan of that, so I replaced them with fairy dust in these two sections. Then their suggested replacement of this green AB is in these areas of the leaves. Here's some more of that fairy dust that I changed it out to, as well as over here. But then the main thing is within the flowers. This orange color within here is actually a fairy dust as well. It's a pixie dust. I should have pointed out, this is a pixie dust from DP with Sparklers, and this orange is a pixie dust from DP with Sparklers as well. And that's something that I also swapped out because previously, or their suggestion was a pearl for square. And then there's some naturally charted orange ABs right in this section too. But the big difference is that this is where I was supposed to put this crystal jelly 956, and I was so excited about it. But as I started to place them, they were a lot smaller than the other square drills surrounding them, and so there was just this obviously huge gapping issue, and I did not like how that looked. So I picked those off. I tried to put down a similar fairy dust, but I didn't have enough of that fairy dust, so then I had to take it off, and I just laid down the regular 956 color that goes into all of those spots. And prior to that, I thought, well, maybe if I have, this jelly drill, that putting in the red crystal would be too much, because I was going to put crystal 815 down instead of the regular 815. So what I did is I found a fairy dust that I had of 815, and I laid that down everywhere that the crystals would go. Then I realized that those jelly drills weren't going to work, so I wanted to add the crystals back in. So I had to go through and pick out all of those fairy dust drills, and then I came back in and laid down the crystals, which you can see quite a bit of them here and here in those really dark areas. There is just a little bit of extra glow or glitter shininess from all of those crystal drills. And so I really like how that actually turned out. I wasn't sure if I was going to like the crystal drills in there or not, especially after having spent so much time removing them, removing the fairy dust to lay down the crystal drills. And so what I did is I just put the used fairy dust, because I don't want to throw away fairy dust, into a little baggie. Since they're going to be kind of sticky, I wanted to keep them separate from the ones that have not been used. And then that way, if I go to use these in the future, I know they've been used before and I need to use a specific tray. And, you know, I'm going to know that they're going to get clumped up and kind of have issues laying them, but I at least have them for future enhancements. So that is pretty much how far I have gotten, and now I get to move a little further down. Sorry, I'm probably going to bump the camera here a bit. And so I think what I'll probably do, I like to really do the same colors at the same time. So I'm going to fill in this background color and probably do the fence and this main part, and I am excited to do the window because that's where those slivers are. They're the gunmetal slivers I showed you. I'm really excited to see how those are going to look when they're laid down here. So yeah, this is going to be a really fun section, but I'm going to fill in all of the background color first, and I'm not sure if I will start on this part yet or not. I'll probably save that for kind of my next row, and then I'll finish the butterfly. I have done some of the butterfly as I've laid similar colors up here, but I'm going to come back into this black area and add that black fairy dust and some other special colors that I have. This is where the quad cubes are going to go and all of that good stuff. But see, there's all this color blocking in the background. Here's all sevens. These are all blue hearts. Over here, we also have a bunch of blue hearts and a bunch of sevens and Ys, and this is all Ys. So it just makes sense to me to do the sides first and then come back in and fill in this section. So I am excited to continue, but I just wanted to check in with you and show you the completed section that I have so far. All right, yeah, let's check in when I make some more progress. Just completed another section. This is coming together so fast and I just love it. Oh my gosh, I love Richard Lorenz. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what this is supposed to be, but it's kind of like their house, I guess, and it's just a super funky house. In here, there is some purple right here in this color. That is one of the places where DP with Sparklers suggested I put a glitter drill, and as I previously said, I'm not a fan of that one. So I was either going to do a fairy dust or a crystal. And since this is like their house thing, I didn't want to bring too much focus to it. So I just used the fairy dust, and I'm really happy with that. There's also some naturally charted fairy dust and ABs in there. So here is some of the naturally charted fairy dust and the orange AB, and some white ABs, orange AB, and fairy dust, and more over here, and there's some white ABs there. So there's some more of the charted fairy dust. So they've already got some in there, and then we added that to it. And I'm going to pull it down here a little bit. And so then here we have the window. So here, these lines are now made up of those slivers, which, just to remind you, this is what they look like. Now, I was under the impression that they were supposed to be 4 squares long. Turns out they're only like 3.5. So how they fit together, it ends... There isn't anything going across here or here. So it just comes up to this corner and goes across in each section. So I happen to have white crystals from a different diamond painting in my stash. So I added those white crystals into the connecting points. It was charted to be just a gray color, and I thought, just because of these slivers, that it would look nice to have the crystals in those spots, and I think that it looks good that way, so I'm going to leave it. And then we have some naturally charted white ABs in here, as well as going around the window. But then this blue going around the window, that is the blue crystal that I have. That's one of the places they suggested using a sparkler for squares, and at least I think that's what it's called. And so I just used this blue crystal instead, as I did similarly in the flowers up here. We have some naturally charted white ABs here, and this is some more of the purple fairy dust coming around. And this is a different color of fairy dust that I did put into this area also. And then we finally have the butterfly. So I did put crystals in the butterfly, similar to how I have them up in these flowers. And then all of this orange is fairy dust. Only one of them was a suggested change from DP with Sparklers, and it was suggested to be a pearl for square, and I made it a fairy dust. And then the other color, they didn't suggest changing, but I just made it a darker fairy dust. So it's two different colors of orange within this section. I'm not sure how able that's going to show on the camera. I also used black fairy dust for the black areas of the butterfly, and that way it stands out a little bit, especially as the black legs of the butterfly come down to the black going around the fencing up here on the patio. And so I just think that helps it pop a little bit more. And we've got some fairy dust going around the edge here, as well as naturally charted red ABs in this area. And then we have our scarlet quad cubes in this section of the butterfly. So just in this top area down here, there were just 2 lines of each, so there weren't 4 colors together. So there were some in this section where it wasn't just 1 or 2 different red colors, but there was a charted AB. Usually, DP with Sparklers says to do all of the charted ABs and fairy dust and not replace any of those with their suggestions, but just because there was 1 AB in these different areas that have these quad cubes, I decided to just use a quad cube instead. I like how it turned out, so I'm going to keep it that way. And then we get up into the area that I already showed you. So I am just loving this and having so much fun putting it together. I really need this happiness in my life right now. So I am all in on getting this completed. And I love when they are skinny like this. You know, I did another one of his that was long, not tall, but it was about the same width, and it's just kind of a perfect width to do large sections. And that's what I've done here. So previously when I talked, you know, I had finished the teacup up here, and so I needed to come and fill in the background and then all of this, and that's what I did. I came in and did all of this background and all of this background. As I had matching colors, I jumped from here to here and, you know, lay it down like that. And then once all of that was done, then I started to come in and place all of these diamonds in here and just have it come together and think it's awesome. And I also think that that does help me save time versus completing a square over here that is mostly this color and then having to pull it out just to replace a few diamonds in this area later. I'm just pulling out my colors once and going through and making sure that they're all good drills once before switching out. So I think that that helps. Like here's a big swatch of gray, and then we have just a bit of that gray over in this section. So again, I think it helps. So now we're gonna move on. I haven't even looked yet to decide exactly what I'm going to do and how far I am going to go, but here I'm getting into the birds. So, I I really want to do all of the birds at once though. And so maybe I just will do that. But once I get done with the birds, all that I'll have left to do, sorry for shaking the camera, is the keyboard here at the bottom. So, but I could just kind of cut off the keyboard and do all of the birds at the same time. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to think about it and decide exactly where I'm going to cut it off. So this may be my last check-in before I actually do the post review with you. I'll figure out how far I am going to go, how big of a section I'm going to make, and then I will show you what this beautiful Lovebird Lodge diamond painting looks like when it's all together. And Lovebird Lodge is done. I can't believe how quickly this came together, and of course I just absolutely love it because I love Richard Lorenz. I love how colorful they are. I love the character of these birds. It is fabulous. So before I kind of do a whole overview of the entire canvas, I just want to focus on this area that I finished last. So I did end up doing this entire section of birds all the way across at once. So I added in like this color on this side and then that side, and I use a tray minder. So I'd have my tray minder lined up over here, and I would pick a color that I saw a lot of over here, and then I would go over peeling back the perforated sheets as I went and filling in that color. I can see some of this color like right there, and I'd go all the way over here and fill it in, and then I'd pick a color that I saw the most on this side and do the same thing going all the way across, and that is how I ended up filling it in. And yes, I am ecstatic. I love it. So to focus on the enhancements from DP with Sparklers, as well as what's naturally charted in here, but I do love those enhancements from DP with Sparklers. They just add so much. Let's start by focusing just on this bird, the female bird. And I know they always have names, but I can't remember what their names are. And actually, I don't know if they do have names. Anyway, okay, so starting in the feathers that she has, and if I added a fairy dust or a pixie dust from DP with Sparklers, I'm just going to refer to that as an enhancement that I added because I can't remember which is which at this point. If it was a part of an enhancement pack, if it was one that I replaced, or if it was something extra that I added in because I had the same color. So anyway, I'm also getting a cold, so if there are some weird cuts, that is likely why. So looking in the feathers, we have some naturally charted white ABs here. There's also some white ABs up in this part as well. Then we have some of the orange ABs actually in here and over there, and those are naturally charted ABs. And then I have yellow fairy dust that I added in these sections, and then there's also the orange pixie dust, I believe, in these sections here. And then this is the naturally charted brown fairy dust that is highlighting some of the areas here in the middle. There are some of the orange ABs over here as well. They really look kind of brown in this section actually, but they are ABs. And I think that that is all that I have up in the feathers, but there's quite a bit of fairy dust or pixie dust that was added in. When we are looking at her eyes, there is some of the fairy dust from DP with Sparklers in here, so I guess it's technically pixie dust. Then we have some of the pixie dust here as well. There is naturally charted white ABs in her eyes as her glasses are, down on her beak. And there are naturally charted red ABs within her glasses there. And then I know that this was from DP with Sparklers, but I changed it to an AB. And there's so a lot of this blue AB all the way through for her feathers over here. And then there's also a pixie dust that is in her feathers as well to just highlight all of those areas, and I love how that turned out. Within her beak as well, we have some white ABs also, and then there's some of those orange ABs over here, as well as some of the pixie dust. And then when we look at her lips, we have the red. Sometimes the red and pink are kind of hard for me to tell the difference between, but there's some red ABs. Here are red ABs, maybe these are the pink ABs, but they're within her lips, her tongue, her beak, and there's also some pixie dust, or actually this is naturally charted fairy dust in here as well as a couple of white ABs. Now, when we look at the beads in her necklace, there were a couple of naturally charted ABs in a few spots. I can see a white AB highlighting the upper right corner in those. However, that was pretty much it. And I really wanted to try and bling out those beads as much as I could. So I went and found what crystals I could and then what fairy dust I could to try and make each bead full of fairy dust and crystals. So there's some red crystals in here as well as some fairy dust. This is actually a crystal AB that I previously got from DP with Sparklers. And here's some purple crystals. Again, the red, some purple crystals. And so I tried to do that. This is all fairy dust. Some green over here. I tried to do that going all the way around. And I really like that because her necklace is just full of different colors and bling, and I wanted to try and make that pop. Also, she has these beautiful, huge hoop earrings. And so there was some naturally charted of that brown fairy dust within some of the earring, but not all of it. So I did try to add in pixie dust or fairy dust that I had when I could. This is actually the orange AB in this part of her earring, but I wanted to try and make all of it pixie dust or fairy dust. So that is what I pretty much did to her. Oh, and then her feet. There are some naturally charted pink or red ABs in her slippers that she has on there. And then I also added in some more of the fairy dust where I could as well to just kind of make them shimmer a little bit more too. And then on him, he is a fun character too. So surrounding this flower are some of those orange ABs. And then within the orange, there is the pink AB as well. Here is some of that purple fairy dust that I added in, and it's also highlighting the top of his hat. And then we have naturally charted white ABs going across the top here as well. And there's actually a couple of different colors of fairy dust or pixie dust to highlight the very top of his hat above the brim. I did add in some extra fairy dust and things like that into the brim of his hat. There is some, I believe, that may have been naturally charted. There's some white naturally charted ABs in there, but I think most of the fairy dust that I added was all me. I'm pretty sure that all of the rest of it was me besides this regularly charted white ABs. There's also white ABs in his eyes. And then here is some more of that purple fairy dust that I added in, or actually it's pixie dust. And then there is some white ABs on his beak and some of the brownish, orangish fairy dust that was naturally charted. It's kind of randomly placed all throughout the top of his big old nose or beak himself. And there's a little bit over here. And then over here we have some of the orange AB also. There's actually some that kind of goes down the side here to highlight that as well. And a little bit of the fairy dust down in the bottom of his beak. Now some of the blues that I talked about over here that were ABs or pixie dust that I replaced as part of the enhancement also carried over into him, but he's more of kind of a dark greenish, dark blue bird, where she's more of a bright blue bird with green accents. So he just has a little bit of the fairy dust and ABs in here, although I believe this is the naturally charted blue AB over in this section, but I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is a natural AB. And here is some more of that blue pixie dust highlighting that area. Now I didn't do, I think, anything into his feet. Since it's just that dark, dark brown. There is just a little bit of the brown or orange fairy dust that is highlighting that area. So that is what we have for our two lovebirds. And now let me move it down and show you the bottom where it says Lovebird Lodge and the keys, and I'll tell you what I did down in this section. So in the words themselves, we have some naturally charted brown orange fairy dust going throughout most of these letters. And then as we go across, there is less and less of it, although there is a little bit still in these, but most of the highlighting is on this end. And then there is the pixie dust that was part of the enhancement set that is in these letters as well, and a few in these, but that's it. Otherwise, the rest of the fairy dust going across is from the actual Lovebird Lodge kit. I do have to point out that this dark, dark blue going around the sign of Lovebird Lodge, it was awful, just awful. But it was one of the typical culprits. I'm trying to find it here. I know it was the capital letter C. I think it was 939. Yeah, there it is, 939. 939, 310, things like that are usually pretty bad. This 939 was awful, and so I see some popping off, but it's one of those where I tried to pick and pick through my tray to try and get my drills as straight and clean as possible. But if I continued to pick, I wasn't going to have anything to lay down, and definitely not enough to lay down in this entire area. So I ended up just kind of having to get it to I guess that's going to have to be good enough point, and then lay down all of the drills. So, but that's just kind of what you get, I guess, with 939. Otherwise, with drills, surprisingly, not a significant amount of trash. Most of the drills were pretty good. It was mostly just this 939 that gave me a lot of trouble. Okay, so finally then we have the keys and the board down here. So down here we have just this one line going all the way across, and that is that light brown fairy dust that is naturally charted in there. And then when we go to the keys, we have some naturally charted white ABs going across all of them. There's just a little bit of the white ABs. There's also some naturally charted green fairy dust, and it's that very, very light minty colored green fairy dust that goes across all of them. That fairy dust is also in a huge blocked section over here in this corner. And then I did add in fairy dust that match that I happen to have to help highlight the keys even a little bit more. So here's some more white ABs up here, but then here's some fairy dust that I added. It was mostly light grays, and then this is kind of a light brownish fairy dust, but this is actually a dark gray fairy dust that I also added in there that I had. So I just kind of tried to replace what I had, and I left what I didn't have to replace. I didn't use everything, I guess, but I just tried to do my best. And so going all the way across, here is some of that dark gray fairy dust. There is a little bit of the very, very light gray fairy dust. Here's kind of the light brown fairy dust that I had. And there's a little bit more of that, some of the light gray. So again, I just kind of wanted to make that area pop as well. So there she is, folks. What do you think of this beautiful piece? Oh, I love these birds. Absolutely, absolutely love them. I want to center the actual birds on the camera here. So Lovebird Lodge, Richard Lorenz, you genius, you. Oh. Okay, so as I go over the statistics with you, I will insert some B-roll so that you can see the diamond painting really close up and try and see some of those enhancements that I added along the way in more detail, and just seeing all the overall detail of everything. So as that rolls along, I will also insert a picture of the entire diamond painting at the end so you can see what it looks like in one clean shot as well. So as a reminder, Lovebird Lodge is 20 by 40 inches or 50.8 by 101.8 centimeters. There were 71 total colors, including 5 ABs and 3 fairy nests. So it already had 8 charted special drills, and then you add that enhancement pack. That was a lot of fun. It was so much fun to enhance. If you have not enhanced something before and you're a little bit nervous about doing it, I would get one of the enhancement kits that DP with Sparklers has. I did one, my first one, and then now I love doing it and I'm not as scared to do it on my own. Anyway, back to this piece. On the entirety of Lovebird Lodge, there are 83,436 drills. And this is, of course, a square diamond painting. I worked on this for 15 days. I started on November 3rd and I finished on November 17th. And over those 15 days, I spent 67 hours and 45 minutes to complete this diamond painting. And loved every second of it. I have been looking forward to completing this one for such a long time. I had the DP with Sparklers enhancement set like picked out and everything for a long time, and now to finally be able to use it and put everything together, I enjoyed every second of this one. And so now I'm kind of sad that it's over, but that is what diamond painting is, and now I get to try and put it on those foam boards that I use so that I can hang it on my wall and display it that way in my stairwell. And now I just need to find time to do that. I have a couple pieces to do. So that is it. This is Lovebird Lodge by Richard Lorenz. I sure hope that you love it as much as I do. This is one of my favorites just due to all of the colors, the size. I really love tall, skinny pieces overall. And this one was just, it was the best. This is going to be one of my favorites for the year, I think. I really, really do. I really just loved how the slivers worked out in the window. That is something that I would have personally never thought of to do myself. Thankfully, DP with Sparklers did think about doing that, and I think that it just turned out amazing as well. That was such a fun extra effect. Okay, well, that is going to conclude this post-review completion video of Lovebird Lodge by Richard Lorenz and Diamond Art Club. I sure hope that you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed completing it, maybe. I guess it's not really the same, but hey, if you did enjoy the video, please make sure to give it a like, as those likes really do help my channel, and they also just make me happy. So if you could give it a like, I would appreciate it. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would certainly love to have you here, and I try and share a variety of diamond painting content, but my uploads can be kind of random, so you might want to also click that notification bell so you can be notified anytime that I do happen to make a future upload. And then, of course, if you ever have any questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, anything at all, please leave them in the comment section below. I always love hearing from you, and I try and respond in a timely manner. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful, marvelous, fabulous day. Bye-bye.